How can you build trust after major betrayal in a new relationship? How do you build trust if you've had an abusive relationship, if you've experienced sexual abuse, if you've been through major infidelity or other forms of betrayal, and you're entering a new relationship? My name's Ruth Ann. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm an expert in relationships and issues of narcissism. And this is probably a question that I'm asked most often, both within therapy when I'm working with people and also through social media and the messages that I get from people, is how on earth would I even begin to have a new relationship with someone if I've experienced significant abuse or other forms of betrayal? So, of course, it's completely understandable if you've been in a relationship with someone that you've really trusted, that you thought was going to be a good relationship, and that person betrays you in some ways, that you can begin to doubt and question other people, and you can be really concerned about the possibility of getting hurt again, especially if there's been some time since the relationship and you've had the opportunity to develop a little stability and autonomy and freedom, which is a wonderful thing. But then, how do you form a new relationship? How do you build trust again? Whether that's in close friendships or with family members or with a new romantic partner. For most people, it makes a lot of sense that you would have difficulties in trusting a new person. That's understandable. But what often people miss, including in themselves, is the difficulty they have trusting themselves again, trusting their own judgment. And one of the stories that gets told about narcissism is that you have to spot the red flags early. Now, sometimes there are red flags early on, and that's true, but that's not always the case. You can be in a relationship with someone for quite a long time before it becomes very hurtful or abusive in some way. You could be with someone for a long time before they cheat on you or before you discover that they've been cheating on you. And of course, sometimes the red flags are only really obvious in retrospect. So I think that's really important to mention that it doesn't, having been in a very difficult or hurtful or abusive relationship, doesn't mean that you missed things early on. Sometimes it does, but often it doesn't. And sometimes those early messages can be quite ambiguous. So I think it's really important that you don't overly judge yourself for having been in this kind of relationship, to kind of make peace with it. So when you start a new relationship after an abusive relationship, of course, it's understandable that you're going to have lots of anxiety, lots of worry, fear. Can I trust again? How can I trust my judgment? Can I trust this person? And those feelings are difficult and they're very painful. And very often people have a kind of story that I don't want to put this on a new partner, that I've got to be healed completely before I can start a new relationship. Now, there is a lot of merit in taking time to understand your past relationship and understand how it affected you and understand what you're bringing to a new relationship. But let me tell you, everyone is bringing their past history of relationships and their expectations into any new relationship. This is not unique to survivors of abusive relationships. And no matter how much therapy you've had or how much you've moved on, of course, you're still going to have anxiety. Things are still going to come up. And if you take the view that these feelings are difficult and they're a problem for a relationship, well, the chances are that you're going to try and get rid of those feelings rather than accepting that those feelings are what they are and making space for them, both within yourself and potentially within your relationship. Now, often we think about trust as being, well, I can trust this person. I know I can have confidence in this person. Guess what? Trust isn't like that. In some ways, there's always a level of uncertainty. I don't know for sure when my partner goes out to work that he's definitely going to work. I don't know if he's really going out with his friends when he says he's going out with his friends. Trust means I take the risk that maybe I don't know and that I could get hurt. There is an inevitable level of vulnerability in any relationship. If we love someone and we trust them, we are opening our hearts up to them, and there is always the possibility of getting hurt. Now, we sometimes think about trust as being something that builds over time, and then you can let someone get to know you more as you build your trust in them. But I think the reverse is also true. You take more risks and you have more trust. So if you went climbing or you were doing like an assault course, very often they have those kind of safety harnesses. Well, do you trust the safety harness? Theoretically, you can, but in reality, you're probably going to test it out on a low branch. If you're doing an aerial assault course, test it out, see if it works. Will it catch you if you fall? Will it catch you if you slip? And a new relationship is a little bit like that. You may want to test the safety harness. Now, if you see your feelings as a problem, as an inconvenience for your relationship, and something that you want to keep from your partner and keep out of your relationship, rather than make space for them, there is a risk that you could become under responsive or over responsive. So if you're under responsive and you see those feelings as not valid, as not something you want to bring into your relationship, you can end up being very dismissive of them. So you don't want to share with your partner if you are having difficulties trusting them. You may not want to share with your partner that the way they're touching you is uncomfortable or making you bristle, or if you're overly sensitive about something. Now, on the one hand, you may be recognizing some of these feelings I have are from the past and I don't want to put them on my new partner. And that may be quite insightful of you. However, that can lead you to being quiet, to being silent, to not sharing your feelings. And before you know it, you're invisible. Your needs, your feelings are unseen and unheard. And your partner, your new partner, doesn't get the chance to show you how good a safety harness they may be. The other risk is that you become over-responsive, that you're on the lookout for potential signs of threat, and you become overly reactive. And that could lead to you prematurely ending a relationship. It could lead you to confront your partner in a way that's quite aggressive and off-putting and doesn't really share with them where you're coming from. One of the things I suggest to people in this situation is to practice being a really good narrator of your own experiences, being able to communicate in a very calm manner as an advocate for yourself in a way that isn't blaming your partner, but you're able to say to them, this is my experience and I have history that's difficult here. Communicate to them in a very straightforward and very calm way. Look, I've had these experiences and they've been very painful. And I'm someone who may need a little more time to build trust. I'm someone who may need a little more reassurance that you're still thinking about me and that you still care for me when you're away from me because of my experience of being cheated on. Or I may need, when we're being physically intimate with each other, I may need you to be more mindful of my boundaries and my comfort because of my past experiences of abuse. Now, saying those things is really vulnerable. You're letting your partner in, but it's also very confident because you're saying, these are my needs. And you will get the opportunity to see how good a harness this new relationship may be for you. And it gives the other person the opportunity to be responsive, to be kind, to be caring, to meet your needs. Now, whether or not they're able to do that, I'm not going to be able to tell you in advance. You are not going to know in advance. But by taking the risk, you test the harness and you find out before you're in too deep, before you're up too high in the branches of an aerial assault course. Testing it out at the earliest stages gives you lots of really useful and good information about the other person and how good they are at meeting your needs. Now, I've talked a lot about a potential partner as being a secure base, being soft, being caring, being supportive of you. But some people may need a secure base that gives them a lot of freedom and autonomy. Now, someone wrote to me recently and they were very happy for me to share this. So a man wrote to me and he has a history of being in an abusive relationship with women who are very critical and controlling of him. And when his new partner does things for him, cooks for him, or cleans up some things in his house, or reorganizes his kitchen cupboards for him, he feels criticized and he feels controlled. because it's a reminder of partners who are like, this isn't good enough, you're not good enough, you've failed, you're incompetent, and you're inept. And for him, having his own place and his own freedom is a real source of pride and autonomy. And having someone new come into that is quite threatening, is quite anxiety provoking. And so what could he do in that situation? Well, I would suggest he communicates that with her. You know what? I've had these experiences of relationships where I've been criticized, where I've been told that I'm not good enough, that I'm failing. And it's been really important to me to build my autonomy, to build my freedom. And I'm so proud of the independence that I've developed. Now, I suspect when you do things for me, when you come into, you reorganize my kitchen for me, that you're doing that out of kindness and to be helpful to me. But my experience, because of my past, and this has nothing to do with you, but my experience is of feeling criticized and controlled. And that can just open up a conversation that could be very, very fruitful and really give that person the opportunity to see what their new partner is like. So when we start a new relationship, we will have difficult feelings. Our old relationships are going to be present with us. But seeing those feelings as part of us, as something we inevitably bring and our partner inevitably brings to a relationship, not being ashamed of them, confidently and assertively, without any kind of defensiveness, communicating our needs clearly gives us such an opportunity. It gives us an opportunity to be held and supported and for our partner to meet our needs, whether that's a need for softness and embrace and kindness or a need for freedom and autonomy and space. And it also gives us the opportunity to learn more about our partner and their needs so we can be responsive to them. And those are often incredibly fruitful and creative conversations that can be tremendously healing for people who've been in abusive and very hurtful relationships where there's been a lot of trauma or betrayal. So I hope this video helps you to make peace with yourself, peace with your own emotions and needs, and not to see them as necessarily a problem for a new relationship. And I also hope that you have the opportunity to test the safety harness and that it's a solid harness. I'd love to hear what you think, so leave a comment. Let me know what you found helpful in this video, what resonated or didn't resonate. And please hit the like button if you like it and subscribe so you can hear more from me in the future. I look forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, take good care.